For fuck's sake.
No, we're not doing that. We'll edit this out in post. I'm going to leave it in. I'm editing out. Hi, best friends. Welcome back to the 76th annual Jacob Reviews an Album. It's album review time. This is the full title. All these words are always included and displayed on the screen. You're welcome. Album review time. 83rd annual. And today we're going to be discussing Petals For Armor from Hayley Williams. If you don't know who that is, get out. Or just listen to it. That's fine too. It's pretty good. It just came out. It was released in 3 separate parts. And we might put this all together as one part. There's someone here with... Hold on. And now introducing my co-host that I forgot about until just now. Tyler. Say hello, Tyler.
Hello.
That's enough. All right. So we are going to review it in the parts that it came out in, which is 5 songs a piece, but we might put it all together. I might release it separately. It's really up to me. No change there. The first single that came out from the first part was Simmer, and so that's going to be the first song we're going to be discussing.
Is a quiet thing. You think that you tamed it, but it's just lying in wait. Rage, is it in our veins? Feel it in my face when I least expect it. Kevin, control. There's so many ways to give in. Eyes closed. Another way to make it to 10. Or how to draw the line between wrath and mercy. Gotta simmer down.
And it is objectively a good song, so you enjoyed it. I'm so happy that you enjoyed it. That's so great. It makes me feel so warm. But we're going to get into it. Tyler, what's your thoughts on Simmer?
Hearing it for the first time in my car, it didn't do much for me. That's not saying much. The sound system in my car isn't great.
Yeah, your car is awful.
Sitting down and listening to it on your laptop and watching the music video really changed my perspective of it.
Well, you're just stepping on my lines, because that was the first thing I was going to mention was I feel like when you're doing an album review, the idea is like, okay, just review the music. But I think visuals, there's an element there that just changes everything, because like this first clump of songs has a very horror vibe, and anyone that knows me knows I love horror. So, I'm a sucker for this first chunk of songs, but especially because of the videos. Specifically, I think Simmer has the most directly horror-inspired vibe, and that's pretty much the entirety of what sucked me into it, because it is a different sound. I do understand why this isn't necessarily a Paramore album, even though I still hear that. I mean, it's all the same people making this music. I think the tone is just different, and lyrically, it's pretty specific. So you changed your opinion on it, basically. You like it more now.
I mean, again, we came from every time that Paramore's put out a new album, I'm a guitar player, and I've always wanted to be more guitar-driven, like All We Know Is Falling, or Riot, or Brand New Eyes. Mm-hmm. So when Self-Titled came out, you kind of had to sell me on it, and then I love it now. Same thing with After Laughter, and same thing with this, which was even more of a stretch, because as far as I can tell, there's really no classical sort of guitar on it. I know that she does some MIDI guitar stuff, and I know that she plays guitar because I've seen it on her social media, but it's not as big, loud, distorted amp as the old first 3 Paramore albums are.
Yeah, I mean, that's getting into a whole other kettle of fish, so I'm going to like tie it back to the song, because yes, there is a lot to be said there of like how different it is. I do think with Simmer, it does have a pretty close sound, like, or I don't know, vibe. It's hard to really explain. I like the song. It's hard because I've seen the music video. I can no longer go back to just having heard the song and know what my opinion would be like today. So now seeing the video, I'm just at this point with the song where it's like, I have those visuals stuck in my head. This is a great song. It's got a great vibe. I do love, and I think like a huge theme of this album, and I'm sure I'll touch on it with other songs, is like the backing vocals, like the breathing, like that opening, like a riff of just breathing. I'm already wet, and now it's monsoon season, mama. I just like I think that's so I don't know, I'm a sucker for that. Like, I'm not gonna say that it isn't a little gimmicky. If you haven't been doing that gimmick, it's not like, oh well, you're resting on that thing or you do this every song. It's like, no, it's kind of a theme of this album is this like breathy singing. It's almost, I remember reading something somewhere, Hayley had said that the quieter songs on this album are usually the more angry ones and like the louder ones are more hopeful, which is unusual for them. But I kind of like that. I like that ooky spooky, something's out to get you vibe. Even though Simmer really isn't about that. I don't know, what vibe do you get from Simmer when you listen to it?
I get the same kind of vibe. It reminds me of Halsey, when you first got me into Halsey, but just quieter and a little bit more intense.
Not as showy.
Right. So, I mean, listening to it at your house versus in my car with the loud exhaust and no wind protection, you really have to have a silent environment with the lights down like a horror movie.
This album kind of has that whole problem. Oh, well, problem is relative here because like it's mixed so well and there's so many sounds like the breathing and like the backing vocals that if you don't listen to it on a relatively good speaker system or better yet like in headphones, you're getting essentially half the music and all the songs are going to sound very simple. And I think when I first listened to them just from like my phone speaker, it's like, okay, well, I'm not. There are some exceptions to that on this album where I listened to it and was like, I know this doesn't even sound as good as it's going to, and I still like it already. But Simmer, I think, I don't know, it's just an interesting song. There's not, I can't really compare it to another song that I like a lot. I just really like that vibe. Like anything horror related. And again, I think the imagery has a lot to do with that. And as this is my Music Awards 37th annual, I'm going to award it Best Song Titled Simmer on this album. And it wins. Congratulations, Hayley. We will see you soon. What's up next? Leave It Alone. Everybody's favorite track. Step right up and fall asleep.
On my tongue. The truth's a killer.
We just listened to it just before we started recording this, and I like it more than I remembered liking it. I will say this is, well, spoiler alert, everyone, it's not my favorite. It's on the lower end of the album, and you know, the whole spiel of, oh, it's her creativity, she's allowed to make whatever she wants, it is a really well produced song, it clearly has a lot of meaning, all that stuff, and I totally get that. But from my perspective, my opinion-based perspective, it's kind of a boring song. I will say I really like everything except the chorus. Like I don't like the chorus.
See, I actually like, similar to you, I like it a little bit more now that we've listened to it again.
Yeah.
And again, not listening into my piece of shit car. Mm. I like the hook at the end of the chorus because it feels like the whole song feels like it's building to something, and spoiler alert for me, it never gets there. It's just constantly building this really slow building. Well,
and then maybe that's the point of the song, but I just like the lyrics of, you know, everything except the chorus. I was able to hear them clearer this time, and I get it. It doesn't make it necessarily like, oh, it's really jumped up there. No, but I like it more. Like, I will be honest, I think all albums, we can all agree, have like songs you will always skip. You're never really going to listen to them, you know, unless you're leaving the album on in the background. It's never going to happen. This will always be one of those. Maybe I just don't relate to it. We were discussing it the other day, and that's pretty much what we came upon. It's like, it's just not a song we can relate to musically, lyrically, you know. it's for someone else. I've seen a lot of people enjoy it. It means a lot to a lot of people, and the video is really cool.
Video is beautiful.
Yeah, but I mean that unlike Simmer, that really didn't do much for me. I was like, this is still a very, almost monotonous, and I feel like that's a little harsh, but
No, I would agree completely.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, is it still going?
That's what I was waiting for.
It sounds pretty, but it's just, it really goes and goes and goes. And like I compared it to you, I said it was almost like a poem. Like it seems like poetry, which you could argue music is poetry, blah, blah, blah. But you get what I mean. It seems like just a poem that music is behind it. And then let's put in a chorus so that there's something that repeats here.
Right. It's taken a little too literally.
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful in its own way, but...
For me, it had... especially at the beginning, it had kind of an out of time feeling, which will come up later in a cool way. And it just didn't work. It felt a little disjointed. And then again, it just kept building and built to nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and have to, with a heavy heart, announce that it wins a Sleepy Time Bedtime Award. First annual Sleepy Time Bedtime Award goes to... Leave It Alone. That's what it was. The most memorable song ever written. And next up, we have, what is it? Cinnamon? Is Cinnamon next? Cinnamon's a weird fucking song. I love it. I think artistically, I've never heard anything like it. The way I first described it, I know I described it to you this way when I first heard it, was it's as if you dropped a bunch of papers on the ground and over the course of a few minutes, you're slowly straightening them up until they're in a straight little pile. Because it starts and it's a mess. It's all over the place. The noises are really random. The sounds almost sound out of tune. Even her singing is very warbly. And that even sounds cool. I'm not saying like it starts bad and then it gets good. No, it starts good. You just go, what the hell is this going to turn into? Okay, so this is clearly like an artsy, just sort of noise kind of song, whatever, be creative, Hayley, go for it. And then slowly it comes together to form this almost like dance pop funky hit. And it's like, where did this come from?
Cinnamon. I'm not lonely, baby. I am free. Finally, I'm not lonely, babe. I am free.
And it all makes perfect sense. And I've never heard a song like this. Like, I don't even know how to categorize this into a genre because it's like its own genre. I think, frankly, although there are songs I like better on this album, I don't think there's a more impressive song. Maybe in Hayley's entire discography, as far as like a really creative, like, well, I don't even know how you guys came to this idea of making the song in so many parts that comes together so well. And the music video for it is amazing. She does some like good old fashioned pop diva choreography, which is always just fun to see, but I don't know if that it is impressive or that I'm gay. It could be either thing, but I immediately am suckered in by that. I will say, if I had to find a criticism, it's that lyrically there could be more. There could be more there. That's really like so minor. Because like I do get the song and I even like the lyrics. I just am like, oh, okay, I get it. And how do you feel about it? At
first it was a little weird and it was a little gimmicky. Like, oh, I get it. It has this feeling of, I see some guitar players doing this where they have a looper pedal and they will play a really simple beat and then they will loop it and then play something over it and loop that until it's this huge,
like singing it
cacophony.
around. Yeah.
And it was similar, but not as huge.
But no,
cacophonous.
and it doesn't do that really, because it's not like they're slowly lingering. It's like all the sounds come together. Like it's almost like they are all still playing. Like the difference there is one sound starts and then another sound and then another, and they slowly add up. This is like, well, they're all going. They're just completely off each other's beats. They're all separate. There's a click over here and a clack over there, and they're supposed to be together, but they're not. And then they come together, as opposed to like, oh, it's one of those. It's going to build and build and build until we get the full beat.
And holy shit, when it finally gets to where it's going, it's so fucking good. I mean, to me, it's very upbeat, very noise rock. I just love where it builds to. It's like the exact opposite of Leave It Alone, where Leave It Alone built to nothing. This built to something.
But these are so
really cool.
I will give Leave It Alone that it's like Leave It Alone is clearly meant to be what it is. This this ethereal, beautiful, like, ooh, ah, here you are. Romantic almost.
Yeah.
Like longing. That's not Cinnamon. That's not what I get from that. But I get what you're saying, where it's like the build is worth it. It's worth it to listen to this song to the end. I do quite like it. I like her singing on it. The word cinnamon is fun, which is why we're gonna award this one. It wins cinnamon, just a jar of cinnamon. All right, next up, what is next?
Creepin'.
Okay, I am going to shove this entire song into my mouth and just eat it.
Pair of eyes creeping, aiming like a laser pointer. Poor little vampire baby, we bleed holy water. So why you creeping round here? Why you creeping? Why you creeping? Why you creeping round?
I love this song. It's probably it is my favorite of this first group. I think it's the most simple. I think it's the most effective. Once again, we're getting back to that ooky spooky vibe because it's a very ooky spooky song. The distortion they put on her voice, I just love that. I remember I first listened to this in bed on my phone when I got like the email that had come out. Out loud, I said to myself, holy shit. Because she doesn't really do that. Them as a band and Hayley as an artist never has really done like a really weird distorted voice. And I certainly have bands that do have that, but this is the first time I've heard her do it, and it's such an appropriate song. And I like how she says creepin' and instead of creeping. I don't know, I think there are a lot of great choices in the song that it's like, this is a simple song. Like, I could understand this not being everyone's favorite. I don't understand how you could not like this song. Like, what's wrong with this song?
Objectively, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is a spooky song about someone creeping around here. And then, like, I think lyrically, it's got some of the most evocative. Like, you could argue not the best lyrics. Like, Simmer probably has some. It does have great lyrics, but
Right.
I think it's got the most evocative lyrics. We bleed holy water. Okay, well, I see that. I know exactly what you're talking about. I understand the imagery I'm supposed to be saying. It's very gothic, very spooky. You know, gargoyles, castle. I got it. I see it. I don't think any of the other songs, because like even Cinnamon, as great as it is, like what do you see when you listen to Cinnamon? I don't see anything.
I guess I see Hayley's house, but it's because I watched the music video.
Yeah, I don't think that's her house.
I wish it was.
No, but it's, well, maybe it is. Hayley, get back to us. Let us know. I'm moving in. So, no, with the Creepin', it's like, this is a song that does its job. I have an image, a mental image. Simmer does that too, but again, I think I'm a little biased because of the video. Creepin' is one of those songs that I know other people might skip. I love it. I think, again, though, this is one of the ones where if you don't have a good sound system, it can sound a little too simple. But when you can really hear it, it's so ooky spooky. Like, it makes me think of Halloween time. I wish that sound was something that she did more. I understand this is a very creative project. Not that all albums aren't, but you get what I mean. Like, This is like, I want to go outside my box on certain things and try new things and hear new things. And it's very evident. But I do wish that there was more of this. And I wish that even more with some other songs on this album, but This one is very good in my opinion. What is your full opinion on Creepin?
Creepin to me is really heavy, musically and lyrically, and metal is my aesthetic. So anytime a song can conjure a heaviness, especially with Creepin having, again, very little in sort of standard rock instrumentation. It's very synthy, and very quiet.
Yeah, it's this. No, I get exactly what you mean, where it's kind of like the same sound, but I think that's what makes it so effective. I could hear a lesser critic say like it's the same sounds the whole way through. Like there's no change up. It just seems so, like we said about Leave It Alone, like monotonous. But I think monotony is the kind of the point of it. Someone's watching you. Someone's creeping out there. I can feel them. They're creeping. They're nearby. Someone's right next to me. They're looking at me. I think that is monotonous. I think that's ominous. I think that's the imagery you should be conjuring. Leave It Alone sounds like it's supposed to conjure a bunch of beautiful imagery of like longing and nature and life and death. And I don't get any of that. But Creepin, I see exactly what I feel like it was intended to be.
Right.
And like even on the metaphorical end of things, where why you creeping around here, I think could be an internal thing. Something won't leave you.
So why you creeping around here?
Like a thought or a feeling. And I think that that's almost more what the song is really about, if I had to guess.
Than necessarily about like
someone is watching you. Yeah, I don't think it's that literal. I mean, Hayley's almost never really done that style, but this is clearly more of an idea of why is this thing always around? Why can't I get rid of it? Why is it around here? I don't want it.
Which makes a lot of sense. I guess I didn't think of that. So I mean, she talks about depression a lot in that interview that you and I watched. So
Also, it doesn't help that I've been stalking her since 1987, but due to the courts, we can't get into that. I'm going to give Creepin the award. Lil Creeper. That's Lil apostrophe Creeper. That's the award. Don't wear it out. All right, what's the next one?
Sudden Desire.
Sudden Desire is a song that I know you like the best on this one. You haven't said that, but I just know it because it sounds the heaviest. It's the most classic rock song, and almost even more classic rock than anything else they've even ever done. It sounds like classic rock from almost like the 90s is the era that I feel it from.
Right, almost grunge.
Yeah. And I do like Sudden Desire because it does like a vocal like weirdness. It does have a vocal weirdness to it, the way she sings it.
Very staccato.
Yeah, very like it's just so there's so many periods, like so many fine points on the way that everything is said in that song, and it's so filthy, but not in like a sexy way, but filthy in this dark, like kind of almost depressing way.
With open mouth, we keep our distance now. Don't wanna feel his hands go down. I try not to think about what happened last night outside his house. Too far to go back now. Just wanna feel his hands go down. Sudden desire. Sudden desire.
Sudden Desire. That's like, it doesn't seem good. It doesn't seem like a happy thought. Because if you think,
yeah, it's dirty.
If Katy Perry released or Gaga released a song called Sudden Desire, I don't think that the lyrics would sound anything like, and I love those artists, but I'm just saying it would be very different than what we got.
Absolutely.
Of this incredibly, like, I don't want it. And even when it's happening and I think I want it, all I can think about is everything else. And all the bad things that are happening or have happened. And it almost seems too personal. And that's not a gripe. I'm saying, like, that seems like the point of the song, is that it's an incredibly personal song. Like, she's clearly speaking about a relationship, a damaging relationship, in a way that you would never really speak to a stranger. They would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then change seats. It's because it's so uncomfortably personal and like borderline sexual, and like almost deviant. Like I feel wrong for wanting this. I shouldn't want this. That I do think the louder music fits. It's the most classically music. Like all the other ones on this first part kind of have this weirdness to them, some more than others. But I think this is the most, it's a traditional song. If I put this on, you'd be like, what rock band is this? And then that would be that. You know, you would just assume that that's what it was from if you didn't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, you kind of summed him up pretty well, unintentionally. It is like Creepin, but for different reasons. It's a heavy song. It has musically, it's heavy. Lyrically, it's heavy. Metaphorically, it's heavy. And like you said, I listened to it again. Really listened to it a couple days ago, and because I wanted to hear the song, but then really get into the lyrics. And it does have a dirty, almost like I shouldn't be hearing this kind of vibe. Like you're
reading someone's you're reading
conversation.
someone's diary.
Right.
Yeah. No, and obviously it's very obviously intentional, because especially even the way she sings it, where it's like, I don't know, it's so weird. I feel so weird about that song. I like it a lot. Part of me doesn't want to put it as high as some of the others, only because it's so, well, yeah, that's a good rock song, but her vocals are so good on it. And which isn't to say that she's bad on others, but you can tell that she wanted to have a very natural feel to the album. I went in and I sang it. I like that, and I think that sounds great on a lot of those songs. In fact, I think it makes them sound a little more unique. And so this one, which sounds almost like a B-side from the self-titled album.
I would agree with that.
Lyrically, not at all a B-side from Self-Titled, because Self-Titled didn't feel nearly as personal.
Right.
It never covered that theme. So, like, thematically, absolutely not. But musically, it sounds like the music from that album, which isn't hard to do, since that album was pretty much, we're going to just do every genre. Here you go. I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts on Sudden Desire?
I like it. It's one of my favorite songs on this part of, this 3-part album. I guess the only one that I don't like, though, is Leave It Alone.
Yeah, and I mean, so in this first chunk of songs, in Petals for Armor Part 1, Leave It Alone is the only one that when I first heard it, and now even having just listened to it, mere minutes ago, I do like it more. I give it more props. I still don't like that chorus. I just think it's a little plain. It's very simple. And maybe that's what she was going for. Maybe that's what she wanted. I mean, you never know. And I have seen, to be fair and play devil's advocate, a lot of people online resonate most with this song, because it clearly is, I don't know. Again, it's all about specificity, where this song is a very specific feeling, and if you're not feeling it, you might just not get the song. Like, it might just not register to you, or it's going to sound like this ethereal sort of monotonous droning on, and it just doesn't end until it does. That's fine if that, really resonates with you, if you thought it was really powerful. I thought the video was really cool. I thought musically it's a fine song, and they put it together well. They did what they did with it, and I was destined to never like that. I don't really like that kind of music. So yeah, that's really the only one that I could do without. I think every other song on this is so necessary to the album. So I'm gonna have to, by the way, award Sudden Desire, 96th annual. Too hot for TV. It's not hot enough. It's too hot, and it's also, and that porridge is just right. It's getting the porridge award. The just right porridge for Sudden Desire. It connects perfectly. Everyone totally gets that. And with that concludes part 1 for Petals for Armor, and maybe we'll put this all together and you'll just immediately hear part 2, and maybe you'll have to wait. I don't know. And as always, I'm going to sign off the way I always do, the way I always have, and I always will. Oh, Kerr, props to you, mama. House down, boots for your nerves work. All right, this is Jacob and Tyler for Jacob and Tyler's talkie time. Goodbye. Good night and good luck. Good night and good luck. Turn it off. Just turn it off.